Welcome to the Prime Acoustic podcast. Today we are talking with Linda Saylor, the co-founder of Aspen Academy. Linda, thank you for taking time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get right into it. So share some background on Aspen Academy and a little bit of what sets the school apart.
Aspen Academy is a pre-K through 8th grade school in Greenwood Village, Colorado, which is just south of Denver. And we are a national leader in innovative education. We follow internationally acclaimed academics, and we have developed our integrated pre-K through 8th grade leadership and entrepreneurial development program that our students take part in. And that really is what sets us apart in terms of what we do in trying to help our students become empowered to lead purposeful and extraordinary lives.
That's fantastic. We had a call scheduled last week that had to be postponed because you won an award. Talk a little bit about that, because that does reflect the fact that the school is on the cutting edge of some things. So what that award reflects?
I won the NBOA, which is the National Business Officers Association. They represent over 1,300 business officers across North America. And I won their Unsung Hero Award for 2019. They were looking for an individual who had made extraordinary contributions to their school in the areas of accounting, finance, human resources, facilities, IT, and just general business office practices.
Let's go a little bit more into the installation of the Prime Acoustics panels and some of the purpose behind that. Talk a little bit about the rooms and or the areas that you considered for acoustic treatment, and what were the challenges that you were experiencing in those rooms, and then how did you actually end up deciding to go with Prime Acoustic panels for those rooms?
We're doing a renovation on our auditorium. We have an auditorium that seats 1,000 people, and it was a room that was built in the early 80s, and it has many different angles and different shaped walls and high ceilings and things like that. And in the back of the auditorium, we also have a music studio as well as a dance studio. So the challenges that we were having, first of all, is when we do a student-run variety show every other Friday, and it was very difficult for the parents sitting in the audience to hear the students when they were on stage, despite the fact that we had a cutting-edge sound system and, great equipment. The room and the way that the room was designed, the sound just kind of bounced all over the place. And it made it really difficult for you to hear students when they were on stage speaking or singing, and there was some echoing and things like that. So that was our first challenge. And then also we conduct classes on the stage, in the music studio, and in the dance studio. And we had a lot of spillover between those rooms in terms of the music being played loud, interfering with the classes that were nearby and things like that. So those were the main challenges that we were looking to solve when we talked to Prime Acoustic.
What were you doing before you decided to take the step of installing the panels?
We've been in this space since 2008, and so initially we just kind of lived with it. When we built the music room and the dance studio in the back of the auditorium, we put extra insulation between the walls and in the ceiling. And we kept adding more and more insulation, and so it almost became a battle between the classes as to who gets the volume today. So the teachers were just trying to work together in terms of what volume is acceptable for them to hear and that kind of thing. So we kind of were just suffering through it for quite a few years.
What led you to the Prime Acoustic panel?
Well, we had talked to several different acoustical companies, and they weren't really able to provide us with an economical solution. Being a nonprofit, it just wasn't something that we could afford to do. And a friend of mine told me about Prime Acoustic, and I got in touch with their engineer, and he came out and took a look at the space, and he put together a plan that was not only effective, but also extremely cost effective. We were able to do the entire room for the cost of what other companies were only able to do the back wall for. So it really not only was an effective solution, but it was much more affordable than any other company we had talked to.
The panels that were installed were the Broadway panels. You mentioned price was one consideration. Were there any other criteria that you looked at in terms of the other companies?
Well, the sound absorption obviously was most important, but the aesthetics were also important. We were able to select a fabric that went along with our color scheme and the decor of that room. The other thing that Prime Acoustic was able to bring to the table were the ThunderTiles that were installed in the ceilings of the music room and the dance studio, which made a tremendous difference in the sound bleed over between the different rooms.
So let's talk a little bit about the results that you've had since the panels were installed. I talked a little bit about earlier about the problems that you were having with some of the reverberation and the echoes and the sound in the room itself, and then the bleed over from the other rooms. How have the panels, the Broadway panels, since being installed, have they helped address the problems that you were having? Has the feedback in terms of comments from the teachers and the students and the parents been positive? And what have you heard in terms of since you've installed them in terms of the results?
Since installing them, the feedback has been extremely positive, not only in the aesthetics of the room, but the comments that we've heard from parents is that no matter where they sit in the auditorium, it doesn't matter whether they're in the front row, the back corner, the middle of the auditorium, the sound is the same. They can hear their children on stage. And it's a very consistent and crisp sound as opposed to the echoing we had previously.
Talk a little bit more about the aesthetics in the room and how that helped bring a benefit to the results that you were looking for.
Aesthetically, I think the sound tiles were laid out in a very kind of artistic way that was visually pleasing. We also have some of the panels hanging from the ceiling, and they almost look like artwork as they kind of line the back of the auditorium, and it looks, really nice. So when you walk in, that's kind of the first thing that they notice. But I would say the most striking thing is the sound. I mean, it is night and day difference between the before and after. You can stand in the back of the room and clap, and we did a video, a before and after video of standing in the back of the room and clapping and hearing the echoing, and then the after, and there's no echo whatsoever. So it's just, people might not know that it's the panels that have made the difference in the sound, but that sound difference is just night and day.
Talk about the design process from the beginning of the conversation about the Prime Acoustic panels. What were the steps in terms of interacting with the company, deciding what to install? What steps took place, and how did the process go from beginning to take a look at the panels to the time that the panels were installed?
It was actually really simple. The first thing that we did was we sent floor plans and layouts of the room and pictures and talked about the challenges that we were having. The engineers then came and visited our school and took a bunch of pictures, took a lot of measurements, and did a bunch of evaluations in terms of sound and I guess reflection and things like that. They went back and put together their proposal, and it included a whole layout of what everything would look like with the panels in the room. So I actually had pictures of what it could look like in the room with them installed. And once I had approved kind of that layout and what they were proposing, we went through the process of selecting the actual style of the panel and the fabric and things like that. And then we scheduled the installation. They came and put them up, and the engineers came back and did more testing, made sure everything was as it should be. And it was really, really simple and straightforward.
Any idea about the estimate of that time frame from beginning decision to do it to the end when you were basically finished and installed?
I would say maybe 3 months at the most. It was pretty quick. We had a renovation already planned, and so we started talking maybe in late March, and everything was pretty much done by midsummer. So it was pretty quick and easy.
Talk a little bit about where you're seeing the school, the program, and some of the things you're envisioning for the future. But a little bit more about the school itself and your vision for where you're going, say, over the next year or two with your education profile.
We've developed a fully integrated pre-K through 8th grade leadership and entrepreneurial development program. And we've recently received a grant from Oppenheimer Funds that will help us roll out our entrepreneurial program nationwide. And so we're really excited about that and to develop that into a more online program that can go into many schools and impact many children across the country, because financial literacy is just such an important topic. In terms of the actual school itself, this summer we're going to be doing a renovation of our cafeteria, and we will be installing some Prime Acoustic panels in that area. We have a large cafeteria that was an old military chapel with very high ceilings, and it tends to be very, very loud. And there's a stage, and what that will enable us to do is expand our speech and debate program using the stage, and that'll be a space that we can not only use during the lunch hour, but throughout the day for speech and debate. And then we're also renovating it with a commercial kitchen, and we'll be able to use that for demonstration and class instruction as well.
Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it, Linda, and can't wait to hear more about how well the school is doing in the coming year and even into the next few years.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you talking with me.
Prime Acoustic, a division of Radial Engineering, is a market leader in high-performance acoustic products. Prime Acoustic offers a wide array of acoustic solutions that span all market segments, including Broadway acoustic panels, such as those installed at Aspen Academy. For more information on Prime Acoustic panels, visit the company's website at www.primacoustic.com. Prime Acoustic, acoustic solutions for a noisy planet.